recording on is also being sent to this PC. So whenever I talk, you'll see the levels going up and down. Desktop audio is the audio on the PC that you're streaming from. So if I go down here and do a sound test, you'll see that that blip also showed up on the audio mixer. So if I wanted to play music on this computer in the background, I have a separate level for that I can lower and get a comfortable mix with my microphone and my audio that is being sent to the stream. Scene transitions. So whenever you switch from scene to scene, the transition is what's going to happen. So fade, cut, or you can do what's called a stinger transition, which is a custom transition. It's a movie that you can make. Plan on doing a video on that in the future, but for right now I'm gonna leave that as fade, and 300 milliseconds is 0.3 seconds, so that's pretty quick. The controls you have on the right: start streaming, start recording. Studio mode is a more advanced. If you click that, you'll see you have a preview and a program. The program is what's actually being sent to the stream. The preview allows you to see what's going to be sent whenever you click transition. If you have a lot of cameras and you want to queue something up before you send it to the stream, it's not real time. You can preview it, hit the transition, it'll go on to the program and the live stream. I don't use studio mode because I'm not very fancy, so I just turn that off. Here you also see settings and exit. So we're going to click settings real fast. There are a couple of themes you can go through, different languages. I enjoy the dark theme. I'm going to automatically check for updates on startup. Leave all this stuff the same. If you want to get into this, you can. They're pretty self-explanatory. You can set it to auto record when you're streaming. I usually let Twitch keep my streams recorded for me, so I don't record as I'm streaming. As you can imagine, recording and streaming at the same time does put a lot of strain on your PC, so I keep that off. If I go to my stream, this is what we set up before. My account is already connected to Twitch. Server is set to automatic. If there's any add-ons you have, such as Better TTV, anything that you use for custom emotes, things like that, you can allow those. So the chat window will recognize those and you can use those in the chat on OBS as well. Output. A lot of people keep this on simple. I like to go to advanced because then I have separate tabs and I can set things the way I want to. For the streaming tab, you can only choose one audio track. OBS allows up to 6 audio tracks. That doesn't mean only 6 audio devices. Those are just separate tracks. You can double up devices onto tracks. Leave those out of the stream if you want to, if you don't send them to that track. It's a little complicated. If you put everything on audio track 1, all that's going to go to the stream. The encoder, I'm going to leave that as the NVIDIA NVENC. That's going to send my encoding to the GPU. So my NVIDIA GPU is going to be handling the encoding. If you put that on X264, that encoding is taking place on your CPU. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have a great GPU, you might want to use X264. The new NVENC is a great encoder, and I have a great graphics card, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to leave rescale output off. We're going to rescale somewhere else. If you rescale here, you're actually going to rescale on the encoder itself and can add extra overhead. Again, we're trying to eliminate as much overhead as possible so that our stream looks pretty good. Rate control. CBR is constant bitrate. That means that whatever bitrate you set here, it's going to try to keep that bitrate constant throughout the entire stream. I recommend that highly. There is VBR, which is a variable bitrate. So you give it a minimum and a max, and it'll vary between those depending on what's going on in the scene. If there's a lot of movement, it'll up the bit rate. If there's not a whole lot of movement, it can keep the bit rate down. If you don't have great internet, VBR may be a great opportunity for you to get into streaming. I'm going to use CBR. We were recommended at 6,000 kilobits per second. I'm not going to use 6,000 because again, that's a lot. I'm going to leave this at 4,500. It's still pretty high. It's a lot higher than necessary for 720p. You can probably get around 2,500 kilobits per second if you want to do 720. It may look a little grainy, but these are the settings you want to play with to make sure that your stream looks the best that it can. So I'm going to bump mine down to 4,500. Keyframe interval. This is where you change this. I only have one, so I'm going to leave that as 0. So that's the only GPU I have. Max B frames, I'm going to leave that as 2. If you're having trouble, you can up this to 4. Twitch and everyone recommends max B frames at 2. I'm going to click apply. Recording, I'm not worrying about this because we're not recording. Audio, replay buffer, we're going to leave all that the same. So we should have everything set up 4,500 kbps. That should be great. We're sending audio track 1 to the stream using the NVENC encoder. High quality, max B frames of 2. On to our audio. You can leave the sample rate in your audio at 44.1 or you can choose 48. It depends on your devices. Most things are pretty good at 44 kilohertz, so you can leave that there. In stereo, that's fine as well. You can change that to mono if you want. Desktop audio, there are 2 desktop audio devices that you can output to OBS. My default here is my optical output, since that's going to my headphones. Any sound that is going to my headphones is also going to the stream. That is my default. If I wanted to split my audio to different things, you can do that here. Same with the mic and auxiliary. My microphone is coming in on the line in, so I'm using a Go XLR to